Hi, it's Aneta here from Aneta, our yoga studio and wellness. How are you today? Hope you're well. Today is Thursday, 22nd of March, and I'm just showing up with our weekly yoga wellness coaching session. Today we will focus on the integration, and I called it the journey of integration because for me it certainly has been a journey of integration. And I made some notes for myself today because actually that integration, the way that I understand it and the way that I work with my clients in private yoga sessions and yoga wellness coaching program, comes in many different forms, and really ultimately all of it is around integration. So beginning with number one, yoga is all about integration. It means to yoke, to unite, to bring together different aspects of our being, so the mind, body, emotions, the soul part of you, just bringing it all together. And I absolutely love yoga, and it's been a part of my journey for over 20 years, and I really love it. And this is why I've been drawn to yoga. The way that I practice it always has got an pranayama, it always has got movement, the asana practice, it always has got mindfulness aspect to it. It's really bringing those different aspects of my experience into the movement, into the really showing up on my mat. So really yoga is about integration. It's about showing up on the mat fully and showing up in your life fully. And then there is this thing that comes with yoga, which is exactly that, which is the mind and body integration. In our Western society, we focus a lot on the mind, or we focus separately on the body. And so bringing those two aspects of our experience together and creating more of that harmony and ease within us. And within the body itself, there needs to be an integration as well. You know, the structural integration that comes the way that you stand, your posture, that comes with your movement, whether there is a flow, whether there is rigidness and jerkiness around it, whether there is, whether you're living within your body. So that somatic experiencing, not just treating your body as a project to make better, to look better, to be able to do more amazing stuff. It needs to come, that experience comes from the inside out, and really connecting with that, integrating all of that is really helpful. And also with yoga itself, when you practice yoga, you don't want to be doing just dynamic stuff, moving your body, raising the heat, building the strength. You also want the other aspect of it, which is more yin practice, more restorative practice maybe, slowing down and really staying in the poses for a bit longer, really getting the sense of being in the poses. And staying in the poses for longer, whether they're yin or they're slightly more dynamic, but we held for a longer period of time, allows us to really connect with that energetic aspect of our practice. It's not just physical, it's also that energetic practice. And when there is that more structural integration, you can actually stay in the poses for much longer than what you normally do, because you connect with your breath, you connect with the energy within you. And then there is another aspect of integration that has been a huge part within my life. I've always been interested in psychology, Western psychology, and I studied it quite a lot. I studied it at the university level. I studied it throughout the last 25 years. I've always been really fascinated with the humanistic aspect of psychology, so our own experience, how we perceive things. And so I studied existential stuff, and person-centered, and Gestalt, which again is about bringing that integration, which I really loved. And so allowing ourselves to connect with ourselves on that deeper level, that deep level of not just the mind level, but really sinking more into the body and connecting with the felt sense, that deeper aspect of listening through mindful focusing practices, through somatic experiencing practices, all of that kind of stuff, integrating and really getting you out of your mind more into the body. And then there is the last bit about the integration, which is on your mat and off your mat, into your life, into your relationships, into your self-care practices, that go beyond having a nice relaxing bath or reading a book. It's this kind of how do you look after yourself in relationship to other people and in relationship to yourself, whether you allow yourself the time and space to get to know yourself better and really look after yourself, whether you know how to self-soothe when you are upset, whether you know how to say no to other people. Often when we say no to other people, we say yes to ourselves, to a certain need within ourselves. And then integrating different aspects of our experience to bring more harmony and ease and flow. And that's one thing that really has been guiding my own personal practice and when I work with other people. The life situations might be different. There might be a lot of, some people have got young children, other people have got grown-up children. Some people might be alone now because the children left their homes and they may be split up with their partners. Some people might be, their partners passed away and so they are on their own. Some people left their jobs, retired. Some people, there's all sorts of, some people work full-time and are single or in a relationship, but living alone. The circumstances might be different, but what stays a main focus is creating more harmony and ease, and from that creating more flow. So if you're feeling like you are really stuck, if it feels like it's a Groundhog Day, day after day it's the same and you're tired and exhausted and just getting on with it, and if you are experiencing addiction, and by addiction I don't mean taking lots of drugs, although that might be the case. The addiction comes in various different forms, and it's always the same principle behind it of doing something that is relieving for a moment, but actually long-term not serving in a good way. So it could be maybe drinking wine every night, it could be spending too much money on credit cards, it might be binging and playing games for hours. All of those different things are simply numbing ways, the ways that we numb those often uncomfortable parts of ourselves that we don't really want to listen, because actually listening to those parts might mean that we might have to make changes, and change is always challenging. But without doing that, there is no process of integration, and there is no ease and no flow, and we might be feeling like we are just simply surviving and struggling and just doing our best, but finding it really hard. And so if that's the case, there is always that space that you can create for yourself to start really looking at what's happening for you, to start looking where there is no ease, where there is no harmony, where there is no flow, but stuckness. And beginning to start bringing those different aspects. We've got, as human beings, we've got so many resources, and often we forget that we've got so many resources. And so we often leave circumstances and we move on and we want to just put it in a box and shove it away, out of the way, never look at it. But actually within those boxes of our past, there is so much wisdom that we can bring into daily life. And I changed my life drastically 3 times so far. Might be more in the future. You know, I moved to London when I was 18. I lived there on my own in a completely different culture, different language. I was renting a room in Brixton, out of all places, 26 years ago, completely on my own. And that was very hard. That was a huge change. My family was back in my home country. That was very, very challenging. Finding my own way and looking after myself, which I didn't know a lot about. And then changing into moving into more stable situation about working in substance misuse field with addiction and mental health, and then further moving into family work in child protection, you know, working with families often experiencing child protection issues and trauma and everything that comes with it. And then over 2 years ago, completely leaving that behind and moving more into working for myself in the way that I'm working now. And so each time I realized that I tried to put the past behind, but actually the last year has been so much about integration, bringing those different aspects, looking at them, integrating them into the, you know, harmony of myself being here. And so there is a wisdom within that, and allowing yourself space and time to do that will really benefit you greatly. And as I said, you can start at whichever point you want. You can start with doing yoga and mindfulness. You can start through looking at that structural integration, your posture, your movement. You can bring yin and yang practice on your mat. You can look from the psychological point of view and bring that sense of deeper listening and, you know, deep listening and mindful focusing. And you can start looking at your past and bringing those parts back to you to integrate in however you are, and creating that harmony and ease and more flow in your life. And so, huge subject. It takes time, but like anything else, we choose how we spend our time, and it happens little baby step at the time. And as long as we show up for ourselves, bringing that self-compassion and loving kindness to our process, we can move slowly forward and really understand what's going on for us. And so I wish you a really wonderful day. As always, let me know what you think, if you've got any questions, and if you'd like to find out more about the work that I do, you can always go to the website www.anettai.co.uk or send me a message. I wish you a really wonderful day. Namaste.